We're here. We are live. We are in person. We are Coffee with the Coaches. Our little podcast, Peter Valancourt, my business partner and golf buddy, good friend, fellow entrepreneur. How are you doing?
Great. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing awesome. Well, you've been a little bit under the weather, I know that, and but you're pulling yourself out of it. You've got color back in your face. You look good,
I'm
and
ready. I'm ready to rejoin the land of the productive.
excellent, excellent. Well, well, let's try to be productive then and talk about stuff, right? I mean, this is what our podcast does. We're here typically every Monday. I apologize the last couple of Mondays between travel and illness and everything else. We've missed it, but it's good to be back. We talk about all things business, mindset, and entrepreneurship, as it says above our heads. Sometimes we have guests on. We were just talking about having my son join us, who is now in the real estate business, and he's kind of a serial entrepreneur. Um, so we just pick a topic and go with it. So today, Peter, I wanted to start with that quote that you and I talked about. This is something that came out of the Daily Stoic, a personal favorite of ours. This book that's written by Ryan Holiday, and what it has is all these quotations from various Stoic philosophers over the time, and then his interpretation, right? And
Yes.
it's on a daily basis, and this is a blueprint to life, in my opinion. There is a method to the madness. He breaks it down into various categories: the discipline of perception, the discipline of action, the discipline of will. And then within those three, each month has its own kind of subcategory. January is clarity, February is passion and passions and emotions, March is awareness, April, unbiased thought, on and on. So, it follows kind of it touches on everything, right? I mean, it touches on literally everything. You can apply these things to pretty much anything in your life.
Yep. Yep. And it's very centering to like have these introspective conversations with yourself or just thought experiments about I love that one about unbiased thought. Um,
Right.
you know, what an amazing concept to really just think without the confines of context and trying to
Labels.
shape it. Yeah, labels. Yeah.
Right. Like, can we just hear a message for what the message is?
Right. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't seem like that's possible in the
No.
world we
All right.
live in, but
Right. Hang on to that thought, because that actually plays into this quote. Because from this quote, we're going to get to simplification, and what you just said there kind of talks to the simplification of things as well.
yeah.
Right. All right. So here's the quote, and it's kind of under this heading of the buck stops here. This is about accountability. And I had a hard time understanding the quote because, this is written by somebody, and I don't even know what the years are when Epictetus was alive. Do you, Peter?
I am not sure. I think my
48
mom
to
went to high school with him.
32 BC or something like that, or AD.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, this is by Epictetus out of his book Discourses, and it goes like this. For nothing outside my reasoned choice can hinder or harm it. My reasoned choice alone can do this to itself. If we would lean this way whenever we fail, and would blame only ourselves, and remember that nothing but opinion is the cause of a troubled mind and uneasiness, then by God, I swear, we would be making progress. All right, break that down for us, Peter. Word by word.
Oh gosh, it is amazing. Well, obviously, every word is chosen carefully in any kind of stoic thought because it's all about reducing things to its simplest and its
Right.
most powerful. But removing opinion, gosh, does that say so much and lead you to think so much? Because we tend to color everything with our own frame of reference and what it means to us or how it how it can meld into our thought process or belief system instead of just looking for what does it mean on its face without
Right.
going 10 levels deep.
Right. And in doing that, Ryan Holiday breaks it down to say that this is like the ultimate in taking accountability for yourself, right? And not blaming anything else, not the opinion that's attached to it, like you said, not the people behind it. So this is what Ryan Holiday said. He said, today, see if you can go without blaming a single person or a single thing. Someone messes up your instructions, it's on you for expecting anything different. Someone says something rude, it's your sensitivity that interpreted their remark this way. To your point, a label. Your stock portfolio takes a big loss. What did you expect making such a big bet? Why are you checking the market day to day anyway? Whatever it is, however bad it may be, see whether you can make it a whole day laying it all on your reasoned choice. If you can't make it for a day, see if you can make it for an hour. If not for an hour, then for 10 minutes. Start where you need to. Even 1 minute without playing the blame game is progress in the art of living. All right. So what does that mean to you tied into your whole thought there about removing labels from thing and this whole concept of accountability and not, taking blame?
Mm. It means a ton. I think it starts with accountability, and whenever something happens, we are wired, or I am wired, I'll say, to look for a cause for that. Look for an external factor to blame for why that happened. It
Yeah.
certainly couldn't have been my fault or my shortcoming or my inability to see something coming. It has to be somebody else to blame for this. Um,
Right.
it's some kind of hardwired defense mechanism we have that we need to override to get to the truth of it and to really look at it for what it is.
Yeah,
Um,
I've wondered about that. All right. So let me stop you there for a second because I've wondered about that. Like, are we hardwired to place blame elsewhere? Because I do see that there is probably a evolutionary, gain to be had from that kind of a thinking, right? But I also wonder, is that something that we learned as a society somewhere along the way? Like, was there a society or a time when people took much more personal accountability than we do,
yeah,
right?
is this a nature or nurture thing? Was it
Is it
in
an
there or did, yeah,
Right. And because, I was thinking to myself when I first read this, I said, see if you can go 1 day without blaming a single person or a single thing. I'm like, well, yeah, duh, that's the easiest thing in the world. I'm like, wait a second. Would it be that easy?
yeah,
I don't know. What
yeah.
do you think? Would it be that easy for you?
No, gosh, no. If I'm being honest, no. I'm sure I would fall into the trap, probably not even realizing it until I had some kind of review process at the end of the day. Like, okay, how did I do? Oh, shoot, not so great. Let's go through it.
Right. Okay, so you just hit on another great topic. I mean, in this whole, because this is why I love these mindset or these types of things. From this one quote, we're just going down this rabbit hole. Um, oh God, and just in explaining that, I forgot what the point was. Can you say again what you were
Oh,
saying?
it's like the whole nature verse. Can you go a whole day without blaming some external factor for something that
Oh
happened?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you said you would do it without even knowing that you did it, right?
Right, right.
Right,
Like if you truly were to challenge me to do that, I
right,
would
right,
have to
right.
say absolutely. And at 7 o'clock at night, I'll review the entire day and tell you how I did because I'm
Yeah,
probably doing it
right.
without even realizing.
Right. But you then led me down to this whole thing of unconscious bias, right? And unconscious bias, not just in bias against people or whatever. I mean, unconscious bias in anything, right? You're right. We have to unprogram ourselves of these things. It's not just enough to say, well, kind of I'm just no longer going to do it. We have to unprogram ourselves because it's that deep. And the only way you can do it is by doing those types of experiments or those types of exercises where you say, all right, let me start with an hour. Let me just see if I can go. And I'll think about everything that I'm kind of thinking, which is hard, but can I accept my responsibility? All right. So then
Mm,
we took this quote, right? You and I, and we discussed it with our team in the Philippines when we had our meeting this morning.
yes. Yep.
And I thought some of their interpretations were interesting of how they took this quote, right? When our new growth backer, jumped into the conversation, she was very quick to say how, she's like, I'm all about personal accountability, right? I take it all in. I'm really on top of it and stuff like that, which I believe her 100%. But I think that there's a level of getting to that point that is more than just saying that you are.
Mm,
Does that make sense?
yeah. Yeah.
Again, we need to internalize these things and think about them and slow the process down and not just run around saying, I'll take accountability. It's like, I need to take accountability, and how does that then play out? Right. And I mean, remember, we slowed it down in the conversation with her. And then what came out of it was this concept that when she failed and took accountability, that triggered her to try to fix the situation and make it better the next time.
Yeah.
So it kind of spurned innovation in her, right? And I was like, well, that's really cool.
Yeah. It is that whole necessity is the mother of invention kind of thing in action, where um, when we realize that a moment of accountability, that it was our shortcoming for whatever didn't happen, and you change.
Right.
It's an option. It's an opportunity to review and change your approach, however big or small.
It's amazing just, focusing on things, right? I mean, just focusing on the small stuff and how, if it's the right stuff, small stuff that you're focusing on, and how that can just open up doors and doors,
Mm-hmm.
right? You and I have talked about this little social experiment, this quest I'm on to have uncomfortable conversations with people who don't see eye to eye with me,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And I've been trying to practice it, and I'm challenging other people out there to practice it. And when I explain it to people, then they get it, right? And so here's the gist of what I'm saying. And I'm not saying, go out there and find somebody and pick a fight with them, right? What I'm saying,
Yeah, that's easy enough to do these days, it seems
right,
like.
easy enough to do, right? So this is requires some nuance and some tact. I'm just saying, this is how I justify it. If I want to defend my position, I have to know why the other person is defending their position, right?
Yeah. It's about
And
knowledge and
right,
illumination.
yeah, data.
Yeah.
We just need more data, right? And so, all right, so if we're uncomfortable with well, I don't want to find, people of the other political party or make it a religious thing, whatever. Well, then take it down to the business level. Find somebody who has an opposing viewpoint. A seller who only wants to pay 3% when you want 6%, that's an opposing viewpoint.
Mm.
That's an uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
But are there then is there common ground between those two people?
Oh, always.
Right.
The common ground is very easy in that situation. We both have the same goal. Let's
They
get this
want to sell
house
the house.
sold. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But how many times do people go into it and all they see is the 3 versus 6?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So take
This,
accountability, right? I mean, if we take accountability, and that's how this is a different version of accountability, take accountability of the conversation you're about to have with somebody. And don't
yeah.
cheat yourself or the other person and go in there, with guns blazing if it's not called for, when it's usually not called for, right?
Right.
Go in there and find common ground, and then if you train yourself to just keep finding common ground, start off every conversation with just, I was thinking about this, because obviously there's so much going on in the political arena, I mean, I would love to just go out and wander the streets and say to somebody and be like, hey, dude, like, I think that mostly, I mean, pretty much all the time, we should just have people coming into our country who are legally coming into our country. Would you agree? The guy would probably
Right.
say, right? Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Something is presented as truthfully and
Right.
unsuspectingly as that.
Okay, so I just said yes, and did you just say yes? You agree?
I did agree. I do agree.
Okay. So what are our titles? Who are we? Do you know? Without
No,
knowing,
no,
let me
I have no
know.
idea. We're a couple
No idea.
guys in blue shirts.
Okay, a couple guys in blue shirts. All right. I would love for the price of stuff to come down so it's less expensive when I go out to eat dinner.
Right.
You?
Again, two humans.
Two humans. I don't know. Right? Are we asking the right questions? I guess is the point. Are we asking questions? And, you know, can we do it without, and it's hard, right? I mean, it's, you and I are kind of slogging through this conversation a little bit, right? Because we will, you know, because we don't script this, we don't practice it, right? So I'm giving Peter a clue and he's responding to me, but you know what I mean? It's like, and that's what we got to do, because the more of those types of situations we put ourselves in, right, we're going to get really, really good at it.
Yeah. And I think it's the whole concept of the truth teller and somebody who's willing to be intellectually honest about the conversation and the approach.
Yeah.
And I think, to your point, you already said it. I think most people are like that. I think the issue that you and I face, and probably many people face in environments like the one we're in, is there's a small group of people with nefarious motives or financially driven motives to frame the conversation in a certain way that they know will elicit a reaction from
Yeah.
the other side, whatever side it is. And
Mhm.
it's a game. But when you get into the real world, like you and I hang out off the internet together quite a bit,
Yeah.
and when we encounter strangers, we're not usually shy about like opening up dialogue.
No.
And it doesn't really matter where they're
Oh,
from or
you just said something, and I gotta just jump in and say that it's and then people say, well, we can't help it, it's all around you and stuff like that. And I call BS on that. You get to choose who you hang out with. You get to choose what you listen to. You get to choose what you put out to the world, right? Don't give
yeah,
me this BS that it's all around you and that somehow, everything is allowed to permeate your personal space, right? I mean, do you agree with me?
yeah, totally.
Right? I mean, it cracks me up, those people that say that, right? Because you're right. I mean, dude, it's up to us.
Yeah. It's up to people that are willing to be honest about their conversation, which is again, I think it's most people that we encounter. And I'm like reminded the best example I can give of my first real exposure to this as an adult, anyways, is the football coaches that we've had in New England. First, Parcells um, was the first one to bring that really harsh honesty to the conversation. And I remember one of his quotes is as simple as it is. It's a little Yogi Berra ish, but it's "You are what your record says you are," and what a hard thing to process, but what a real truth teller it is. So you can have a lineup of all stars, but if your record is 8-8, then you're an 8-8 team, regardless of the
You're
names on the back of
mediocre.
the jersey. What's that?
You're mediocre
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
by
Yeah.
its definition.
Yeah.
Again, you and I, practical example, you and I use that with our team in the Philippines in our
Right.
cyberbacker business, right? I mean, we have very honest conversations and the team all knows it. We just had the conversation again this morning because we have a new person on our team, and we said that, hey, we believe in putting it out there, and if we're failing as a company, then we'll call it out and we'll say that we're failing, and once everybody digests that, then we'll move on and figure out what we need to do to get better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but I think if people are listening to this and saying, if anybody's listening, hello, is anybody listening to this? If anybody is listening to this, then I just urge them to go out and do it. I swear, because the stuff works. Like, go out. It's amazing just to go out. It's amazing when you just start asking for things. Um, don't be afraid. Just get out into the community and utilize whatever's around you to promote whatever business it is that you are in.
Yeah.
right? I told my son that this morning in our team meeting, the real estate team meeting I had this morning. And I told him and the whole team, I said, just wake up in the morning and go out saying, I want to go out and have an interesting conversation with somebody today. That
Yeah.
alone, that alone ought to drum up some business.
Yeah. That is the medium in that business and most businesses is communicating and relationship building and coming out a little bit out of that comfort zone to start the conversation for sure
Okay,
helps.
so what about other businesses that are not like real estate, right? I mean, say you're, I don't know, selling widgets. I mean, what does this conversation have to do with that?
Well, if you're selling anything, then I would contend that the core of your business is relationships and communication. Um,
Yeah.
Learning about people, learning about what is important to them, how to craft something that meets their needs. Um, and it's not just for that one transaction, it's to build a client for life, a relationship for life. So all of these things we talk about apply in all those situations.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And I also going back because out of the corner of my eye, I see this whole the buck stops here where we started with that quote and the accountability piece. And when I say, complete accountability, like, hey, you own it all, just hear us that we're not saying like roll over and accept fault for everything that happens in life. You know what I mean? That's not
Right.
what we're talking about at all, right? I don't know if I needed to say that, but I wanted to say that just so people don't go out there and start, blaming, you know, I don't know, everything on themselves. This is just about taking accountability. It, it's more of a philosophical thing, right?
Yeah.
Than a than a piece by piece thing for me.
Yeah. If you think about it with like in terms of, let's say something a lot of people struggle with is like weight loss and body image and all that stuff. And,
Mhm.
I don't like to look the way I look because this happened or that relationship failed or, I feel like I'm carrying more weight than I should because I didn't get that promotion and this and that. All of these things, when in fact, the truth is that you took in more calories than you burned. And that's why you have more weight than you're hoping to carry. All of the other stuff really doesn't affect that directly. That is the reason.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Yeah, you
you
just
know what
hit
I mean?
nail on the head because going back to the quote too, um, for nothing outside my reasoned choice can hinder or harm it, right? He's talking about reasoned choice, right? These are the choices we make. That's the accountability piece, right?
Mm,
Whenever we encounter a failure, whenever something happens, whenever, like if we're gaining weight the next day, then we can go back to those reasoned choices that we made the previous day or 3 days or 5 days, right? Where we ate more calories than we burned.
yeah.
That's the accountability piece. That was what I was trying to tell people. It's like, it's not taking accountability for everything out there. It's taking accountability for everything in here.
Yes. Right. And the only way to affect change is to identify what the real cause is and separate it from all of those extraneous things that you just listed, because those are always going to happen in life. All of those other, you know, exogenous things that you're not causing or whatever. But what you are causing is if we're taking in more calories than we're burning on that simple atomic level, then we're not going to be happy with it, or we have to accept that there's a consequence to that or a result to that.
Yes. Yes. Um, I'm trying to think of a way to segue into this next thing that I kind of want to introduce. And I can't really think of a way to do it because I wanted to fit this in here in the last few minutes. I think, I think that we're good on this topic, right? Of the accountability piece and how we
Mm,
can put that into our businesses. And again, this is a big concept, right? I mean, some of the things that we're talking about is something that you could work kind of years on developing and going out there. These are things of of changing the big ship that is you as a person fundamentally, and not just, we're not just giving you things to implement for a week or a month that's going to, fix a problem necessarily,
right.
right? I mean, we can give you those tools as well. I mean, we've got a million of those tools that we can give people. Um, but as I told my team this morning, I mean, most everybody knows what the tools are. They know the answers to the test already.
Yep.
They know that they got to stay in touch with their customers. They know that they got to do this. They got to do that, right? I mean, blah, blah, blah. We could write the playbook for pretty much any business, because once you write the playbook for one business, you write the playbook for every business. Give
Yep.
or sub out a few different things. So what's left? This stuff, changing your thinking around things, how you approach things. I guarantee you there's, 57 applications to that accountability piece we just discussed today, that people could go back and immediately implement into their lives across the entire spectrum of their existence.
Yeah.
So kind of heady things. But I wanted to kind of share a quote with you that I found because, well, this one I really like. It'd be help if I shared my screen. Clarity about what matters provides clarity about what does not.
That's so awesome.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, figure out what's important. I mean, it doesn't have to be a million things, right? I mean, and this is what somebody asked me once. They're like, well, how can you just like, I don't know, filter out the noise and stuff like that, and all the things that go on in your life. And that's when I stumbled across, I didn't know how to verbalize it. I saw that quote and I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
Because I've narrowed down the things that matter to me to like, like I'm super clear on that. And so then the rest is just whatever.
Yeah. What are the things that if you stop doing, you wouldn't even feel it in your business or your personal life or whatever you're dealing with? And
Yeah.
there's usually quite a few of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that whole Gall's law thing, right? I mean, a complex system always was spawned from a simple system that was really, really good, right?
Yeah.
So declutter,
Declutter.
shed the layers. Man, that's pretty good. I
Yeah.
like I think we should kind of wrap on that just because that just felt like a good place to kind of end it. What do you think?
Perfect. Nice,
Yeah.
and put a nice bow on it.
Yeah, we did kind of put a nice bow on that. Let's talk as a real brief second. I just kind of want to think out loud here with the audience, just both of you, thank you, of who, what we should talk about moving forward. But I love the generational research aspect thing that we've been talking about
Oh, that is
online,
huge. Such an eye opener.
right? I was away at Keller Williams conference and had this speaker, Jason Dorsey. He's a researcher and he's a generational researcher, and just kind of broke down the four generations that are in front of us right now: Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, and Baby Boomers. The characteristics of each of them, kind of where they're at, and how, and that affects everybody, right? Every single person that would be listening to this podcast. Um, if you're in business, you need to know who your clients are, and that's the spread right there.
Yeah. Yep. It's along the lines of, disc,
Right.
understanding who your audience is, but from a totally different perspective than many of us usually think of.
Yeah. Yep. And also it's applications if you have a team or a workforce, you know what I mean? And as an entrepreneur, you may, you know what I mean? What are the
Yep.
benefits of having these people? You know, do you want to have a lot of one, none of the other? I don't know. We'll delve into that, but let's talk about that next week then. So.
Oh, that'll be good. I think that'll be a great topic.
Awesome, my friend. We should be call ourselves like the guys in blue, because we always seem to wear blue shirts at the same time.
I
Is that
have other shirts. I
I
don't know
know
what it is. This is Monday, I guess.
the Monday Blues.
Another good name of a podcast.
There you go, the Monday. Oh my God, maybe we have to rebrand. All right, guys, have a great day. I'll talk to you later, Peter.
See you, Chris.
Bye.